Welcome to the Fit 40 Studio Podcast with John and Sherry, here to get you educated on a health and fitness lifestyle that best suits your needs, your goals, and gets you to the destination you seek, a healthier you. I've been in the fitness industry for 13 years. I work with fighters, football players, baseball players, basketball players. I've helped athletes in powerlifting, and I'm even quite known for the whole powerlifting thing. So, at the same time, over the last 13 years, I've had the pleasure to help a lot of women get into fitness. Now, today, I'm going to introduce you to one of my clients and, quite frankly, a friend of mine. I've actually known her for 10 years before we actually started working together to help her get into lifting weights. And I think you'll learn a lot from her story and enjoy the podcast we decided to do together as we go over some of the things that we see in the health and fitness world. All right? Thank you for tuning in. Now, without further ado. Well, Sherry, go ahead, introduce yourself. Let everybody know who you are.
All right. Well, guys, I'm Sherry. I am a dietitian by trade and a diabetes educator as well. And I also have type 1 diabetes. So providing education for people is really a passion of mine. Helping people manage and navigate this is something that I really like to try and help people do. And then as far as just who else am I? I'm a mom. I have 4 kids, twin boys that are in college. I have a daughter who's in college and a junior in high school. I have 2 dogs and a great supportive husband. So that's kind of me in a nutshell.
All right. Thank you for taking the time. We're going to do a couple of these. Well, we're going to do quite a few of these and try to help a lot of people kind of understand how this whole eating thing works, especially as it relates to training or understanding how training applies to your life every day. Well, that's the goal. So, Sherry, you have type 1 diabetes, right?
Yes.
And you're a dietitian, but you were a runner for a very long time too, right?
Yeah.
So how did those 3 things kind of like all mesh together?
Oh, well, it was kind of crazy. So I had decided that when I was finished having kids that I wanted to be more active. And so I decided I could do running because it would be something I could push a stroller with. And so I started running. And with diabetes, you have to be really careful about cardiovascular work because it can, especially long-term cardiovascular, slow and steady, which I was very slow and steady when I started. And you have to be really careful about your blood sugars dropping as you do that. So I would pack my stroller with juice boxes or I would run a lap very close to home. So if I started to feel like my blood sugar was dropping, I could go home and get some juice or something to help me continue on. But having diabetes and running kind of made for my blood sugars to be a roller coaster. Like I would have those lows and then I would treat it. And so then it would go high. And then I would take insulin to bring the blood sugar back down and it would be low again. So there's a lot to it that I didn't really know about how to manage that, even though I was a dietitian. And having diabetes, exercise can really impact you differently depending on the day, depending on the cycle, depending on whatever the weather is. So there's a lot to it. But it was, I enjoyed running. It was good. It was something I feel like I could see accomplishment with because each time I would go out, I could go a little bit farther as I started training for longer distances.
Yeah. So did you actually did like races too, right? Like
Yeah. Yeah, I did. The farthest I ever did was a half marathon, and I was training for a couple of those. And we lived in Japan when that earthquake hit, and back in March of 2011 and the tsunami. And so that day was my longest run. It was 8 miles, was the longest I had gone. But then the race that I was going to do and every race after that was canceled for a little while. So I didn't get to run them, but then when we moved back to the States, I did finally get to run my half marathon. And I've done tons of 5Ks and 10Ks, as I trained and did all of that stuff. Anytime there was something, some sort of charity or some sort of just fun run with my kids and stuff like that, we would always run those.
Right. So when you became, all right, now it's kind of funny because like me and you met through, we were doing online university with Brian, and we
Yeah.
were talking, and it was basically personal training. And it always, so my next question to you would be like, when you look at generally, when people come to you, especially for a diabetic patient, and they're sitting up there going through those struggles with blood sugar and stuff like that. What are some things that you tell them that you can relate to, or that you feel that would actually help them kind of see their diabetes a little different as related to training that you've experienced?
So now I really try hard to talk to my patients about strength training and emphasize strength training for patients because in my experience it has stabilized my blood sugars better than anything has ever stabilized my blood sugars. So, of course, a lot of the patients I see are adults that are in their 40s and 50s and 60s, and a lot of them are overweight. A lot of them have never exercised before. So they they get scared when I tell them that it's, to do strength training. So I have to be really careful in how I approach it. And I have to start with, telling people that we can be slow, they have to be slow. And it doesn't mean that they have to go and look like Arnold Schwarzenegger, their first time out at the gym, because most of those people, know who that is. So in his prime, so they all know who that is. And I tell them, it doesn't have, you're not going to look like that right away. I tell them that we have to start slow and that it will really help with their blood sugar control. But a lot of the patients I have, it's all brand new to them. Like a lot of times they've just been told, you have diabetes, go eat better. So they have no idea what it really means to eat better. And they have no idea what it means when the doctor says go exercise. So my first line of really trying to get them to do something is just to move, get up, start walking, take the stairs, all the little steps that you have to take. And that's usually where we start. And then once they get past that, then we start talking about how, exercise can really impact their blood sugars. And well, I do tell them that at the beginning, but they start to see it once they start actually doing the walking. Then they come back and they're like, oh my gosh, my blood sugars are so much better. And so then it's a lot of reinforcement and educating them and, reminding them how the hard work they're doing is paying off and the walking is really helping. And then hopefully they'll start to progress into more strength training,
Right.
because I think that's
So
really key.
it's like, it's kind of funny. Like everybody, it's always some kind of personal record. You want to make some PR, whether it's walking, whether it's making sure you get your food in. One little step can give momentum to the next one. So my next question is then, like, when it comes to food for a diabetic person, what would you suggest? What are some key things that they could start out with when they want to take control of their health? Like simple stuff, like you said, because like a lot of times that can be really overwhelming because they don't know.
Right.
And they're like 30, 40 years old, and they're sitting there like, well, eating better, you mean like have a salad or have this? And it like to them, it sounds like they're not living, you know?
Right. Yeah. So that that is really hard. So I always tell my patients when they first come in that I'm not going to tell them they can never eat something again. Because as soon as you tell them they can never have something again, that's the only thing that they're going to want to eat. So my theory and the way I practice is a lot about portion size and really trying to show people how much food they're actually eating. So I focus a lot on using portion sizes to help them manage their blood sugars. We talk about the sources of carbohydrates because one thing they'll tell me is like, all I eat is fruit. The doctor said to eat better, so all I eat is fruit. Well, fruit has a lot of carbohydrates in it. Again, not that it's bad. It's not that they shouldn't have the fruit, but if all they're eating is bananas and grapes and all of that stuff, too much of that's going to impact their blood sugars. So it's going to, not give them the numbers that they want. So we talk a lot about portion sizes and using portion sizes to dictate how much food they can have, or we do a lot of carb counting is what I really try and help people understand, that half a cup of rice is got, about 30 grams of carbohydrates, or two-thirds of a third of a cup has about 15 grams of carbohydrates. So when I show them what that looks like, they're like, oh my gosh, I fill my whole plate up with rice, or I fill my whole plate up with pasta. Again, it's not that they can't have it. It's really trying to get them to see how much food they have or how much they're eating and how that will impact their blood sugars.
It's funny. One of my favorites is, and I always find it funny, was that people, one of the favorite like diabetic foods is oatmeal. And people will eat it and it's like they're either going to overdo it or they're going to add something to it because they need to make it taste better.
Right.
And so it's always funny. I always tell people, like, for me, when I was trying to get bigger, like growing to 300 pounds, oatmeal was one of my favorite things to eat. And it's because, like, I was like, because, like, I can sit and I can totally ruin that and grow. uh, it's
Yeah,
like,
oatmeal has so many carbs in it. I usually tell people if they really like oatmeal that they need to get the steel cut oatmeals, because if they're doing the instant oatmeals, that's just going to send their blood sugar sky high. And then they're going to be starving because it has nothing in it to really last them. So I'm like, okay, if oatmeal is your thing, then let's have half a cup and make sure you're putting it with protein. Protein helps so much because it slows down how fast the sugar impacts the body. And so that's what I always tell them. If you have to have oatmeal, then you have to have protein with it.
yeah, it's funny because, like, it's like everybody thinks, oh well, it's healthy. Pause, or worse, they make that whole assumption of good and bad foods.
Right.
Now, so the next thing I want to talk about, we're going to keep this. So for you, with like training and everything, so tell everybody about how I tricked you into strength training.
Well, so I had signed up to do this run across North Carolina. It was a virtual run. And I wanted to, you were talking about my commitment level to doing that and strength training, and how I said I wanted to do a pull up. And you said I could do a pull up if I was committed to running, I could commit to lifting and doing a pull up. And so I was like, okay, I'll try. And I was like, I've never been successful at strength training. I mean, even when I was doing personal training and I was teaching boot camp classes and we did all the HIIT training and we did all sorts of stuff, man, it was fun. And I could create the most creative program and put exercises together that would be a lot of fun, but I could still never really do very many push-ups. I could still never really do a lot of weight training. So I didn't really put much stock in it. And then when you told me you could help me, and I was like, okay, I'll try. And I think within the first week, I was like hooked. I was like, oh my gosh, this is so fun. And my blood sugars did fantastic, which was great. It wasn't a roller coaster.
And then, so with that, when like, because it kind of goes back to what we were just talking about a minute ago. It's just like once you start seeing those little wins, they mean a lot. Now, with your journey into strength training, one of my favorite things is that you, because like you said, you didn't have the success with it and you didn't understand what the journey actually looked like.
Yeah.
So, for two parts, now I'm going to ask you a little personal question because another thing that people don't understand is actually while being a diabetic, you also had like body image issues,
Oh yeah.
which could be even harder to deal with because the way you look at food, the way you even look at running and training and everything else, probably.
Yeah.
Now, how has strength training impacted the way you look at those things now?
Okay. All right. So I should start with my eating or body image issues. So when I grew up, my family kind of joked that I had a big butt and they all thought it was funny. But to the point where I was super afraid or intimidated or self conscious about wearing clothes that were straight. Like everything had to be flowy if I was in a dress. I couldn't wear anything that would show my butt off because then I would be super intimidated by it. And it carried on through my adulthood. And even looking back at pictures, I'm like, why did they say that to me? I didn't have a big butt, but they all joked about it. So it was very intimidating, or I don't know, hard to overcome that. My mom was a huge yo-yo dieter, so that's all I saw about food was that food made you fat and then you would starve yourself and then you would get to your number and then you would eat again and you would gain all the weight back. So that's what my experience was kind of growing up. And my mom's a fabulous person, but she just had her own diet issues and body image issues probably too. But even still, she's super, super concerned about what the number on the scale is. So it makes me like really nervous sometimes to think about what my number is. Like, oh my gosh, that's my self-worth because it's not what it's supposed, like what is on the BMI charts or whatever. And so it makes me very nervous. Even last week or so, I went to the doctor and it was higher than it was expecting it to be. So of course, John gets the earful of me like, oh my gosh, I'm super high. And so yeah, so my body image wasn't very good. Even though my husband's never said anything, my kids have never said anything, but I would never go to a pool and put a bathing suit on unless it was like covering absolutely every part of me. And then I would wear cover-ups because, I can't let anybody see me because I just felt so bad about how my body looked. But strength training has changed that for me tremendously. I mean, I feel confident. I feel like if I can go and lift 160 pounds in a deadlift, that, you know what, I can do this. And it has just, I mean, it's just made all the difference in the world with how I feel about myself. It even gave me confidence. I had taken my daughter to go visit a college, and we had to drive in a town that I wasn't familiar with at night on these freeways. And I was like, okay, I can lift these weights. I can drive in this town. I can get to where I needed to go. So it's just really made me more confident in who I am and to learn more about Sherry, if that makes any sense. It's kind of crazy, but so I tell everybody now, like all of my patients, I'm like, strength training is the way to go. It helps you. It just helps my brain. It's helped my hair. It's helped my fingernails. I mean, all of these things that I think I can only attribute to really the difference being is strength training. But then how I look at food with it, I do have to be careful because strength training for a lot of people with diabetes actually will raise their blood sugars and then they crash afterwards or they'll go down afterwards. However, since I've been consistently with strength training, now my blood sugars go down. So I have to think about actually keeping my blood sugars a little bit higher before I go to the gym and make sure that I'm like, 180, 190, which is a little bit higher than what I like to be. But then I know if I'm there, I'm pretty good and I'm not going to have a crash. But then there's times where I can be at that range and I'm working so hard that it does still make me crash and I have to stop, which I absolutely hate doing. But sometimes I have to because it's not really a smart thing to be lifting something heavy and trying to like not fall over while you're holding it. So, but yeah, so I have to make sure that my evening meals have more carbohydrates than what I'm used to doing. And I always have always thought about food and how it impacts my blood sugars, but I'm learning that I have to think about food and how it impacts my ability to get stronger, which I'm still working on. Still working on that one.
Yeah, it's a different thing when you're focused, when your food is focused on performance. It's a little bit of a different viewpoint. And oftentimes it comes to the point now that I tell you, okay, take the day off.
Yeah.
But it's a big deal to recognize that you're eating to perform. And even more so, one of the more important things that I've even been able to observe with you is the fact that like it's also recognizing that when you actually look at food to perform or food to perform with diabetes or even with thyroid conditions and so on and so forth, it's really important to understand those things are just hormones. And with those hormones, we're trying to perform our best. Our body is trying to perform its best. It's important that we fuel the body to allow it to be able to do its functions and job properly, you know? And it's crazy. And I've had a lot of fun with you on this journey this past year, especially because like you had a lot of wins. So it's amazing to see. And it's why I coach. And so, and of course, like I tell everybody, I can change your life if I get a barbell in your hand.
I agree. I agree with
And
that 100%.
you thought I was joking when I first told you. You're like, that's silly.
Yeah.
So here we are a year later, and boom.
I mean, I do. So I don't do New Year's resolutions because I never keep them. But this year I said I was going to do something easy, not easy, but something I felt like I could accomplish. Right. And so I started with 21 push ups every day. And I was able to do 21 push ups. And that was already 6 months after starting with you. So I was like, okay, I can actually do push ups now a little bit. And so, but doing them every day, now I'm up to 40. And now I'm trying to do them all close, really close. And those are harder. And so, but I've learned to give myself grace. Like if I don't get 40 right away, which I can't do 40 close ones at a time, but I can do 20 close ones at a time. And it's okay if I stop. And it's okay if I have to rest for, 30 seconds or whatever. And then I finish. And sometimes, some mornings, I'm like, I can hardly do, you know, the last few. It takes me like 2 push-ups, stop for a second, 2 push-ups, but I'm doing it. And that is what is so exciting to me is I haven't given up. And it's just amazing how much better I feel about myself and everything because I can do something. I can be strong. And that was never something that was taught to me, growing up because girls didn't, according to my mom, girls didn't do heavy stuff. Girls didn't lift things and leave that for the boys, leave that for your brother, leave that for your sons, even still. I'm like, no, I can do this. There's nothing wrong with me being able to pick up this 50-pound bag of dog food, So, yeah.
And then we're gonna go with this last part that we're gonna talk about today it's kind of fun and funny for me in that with it you learned really strength training. Like you said, you're doing push-ups every day. Strength training is like its own physical form of an affirmation. Each time you're developing a habit, you're developing another muscle, which is your willpower, your ability to be consistent. And with that consistency builds up on all those other traits we mentioned today. So for you at this point, and like you said, you've already shown a lot of the things that have helped you with your own diabetes and your body image issues and your patients and how you transferred that. So what are some things, what are some goals you're looking toward doing as we keep making these videos and we keep talking about this? What are some things that you want to
Um, just like strength training wise.
do? Strength training goals, body image goals, as a dietitian helping your clients. You kind of told me something really cool today. Anything that you got going that, like, for you, what is it that makes you excited to be a dietitian right now?
All right. So, what makes me excited to be a dietitian? Well, today was super exciting so I work at a rural hospital and out in Missouri, and we are rolling out a program. And I don't really know much about how the program is funded or exactly how it works, but it's a program that helps people pay for medications that are really expensive. And I'm sure you've heard that insulin can be really expensive. Like, seriously, if you don't have insurance, a vial, one bottle of insulin is easily $300 and $400 for one vial. Well, people with type 1 diabetes have to take two different kinds of insulin. So that's at least two vials. And depending on which insulin you take, there's different costs, but it is so stinking expensive. But this gentleman that I was able to help today with this program, he pays, a significant amount of money out of pocket, but I was able to talk to the pharmacist and find a way to help him pay like pennies on the dollar for his insulin. So I'm super excited for him. And I was able to make a real change for someone because he doesn't have a solid job right now. So he doesn't have insurance through his job. So he has a marketplace plan, and some plans are better than others. It just depends on what your needs are and what you're able to afford to pay for and all of that. But I'm going to help him save over, $100 every month on his insurance, which again may not sound like a ton of money, but for somebody who's really pinching pennies and, trying to do things, that is huge. So I'm super excited to be able to help this person
Hey,
with
wait.
his costs.
Pause. You say me $100. You say me $10. I'm happy.
Yeah, well, I mean,
Stop right there.
I'm super excited for. I mean, that's a lot of money. And he wants to be able to get some of the other technological pieces to care for diabetes, like an insulin pump. And those are not inexpensive. And so that savings will allow him to be able to get the supplies that he needs for hopefully to be able to get him an insulin pump. So yeah, so it's just really a huge savings for him. And that just made me so happy to be able to help him, because so many times people will come in to see me, and I'm sure you've experienced this as a coach or somebody that wants information about weight loss, or they just want to fix it right away and they don't want to put the work in. So being able to help this person who's newly diagnosed and help him save this money, I felt like I was able to do something right away and see instant results. And so that was really encouraging to see.
Yeah.
But yeah. But then as far as like my strength training aspect, so one of the things that I've been able to do this summer is have my daughters come to the gym with me. And it kind of makes me cry, but I shared how my mom thought about strength training, and I was with my youngest daughter the other day, and we were, we always compare muscles, and we always like try and get, show our definition, and even though you may not see a lot, we find little lines and we like, oh, look, there's some coming in. But she said to me that she wanted to have big muscles to show off in her homecoming dress. Well, it just made me so happy, because she wasn't saying, I want to be skinny in my homecoming dress. I want to, show off and be super thin. So for her to say that she wanted to show off her muscles in her homecoming dress just really made me happy to be able to hopefully teach her that being strong is okay. Being strong is what we need to do. And I don't know, that was super encouraging. And then my other daughter in college, She's at a military prep school right now, and she said that she was able to do like 50 push-ups for her physical fitness test that they have to do. So knowing that she had come to the gym with me all summer helped her get to that point. So you've helped my daughters, and you don't even know that, but seeing them be excited to be strong and not feel like they have to step back and let somebody else do it for them. So that is super, super encouraging. And then I'm super excited. I moved a little bit more on my pull up. Still working on that one.
Hey, it'll get there. A lot of times, hey, you just got started in this whole strength training journey. You're still a baby.
It's just been so good. Like my sons see me doing it. My husband comes with me, and we're doing it together. And of course his muscles are showing, but he's a guy. So I'm like, I'm going to be mad if you get a pull up before me. And he's like, well, I used to be able to do one. And so, but it's been a few years, but yeah, it's been so good for all of us to see how we can be healthy and strong. And it's helping my daughter in her cross country because she's able to run more and using her shoulders, so yeah, it's just been really positive.
Fantastic. So, that's the whole point. That's kind of why I wanted to do these with you, so that we can give a message to help people and to kind of see how nutrition, fitness, strength training, running, blah, 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 all that fitness stuff kind of goes together. Then plus how, my goal is ridiculous. People see me and they just think I just lift heavy or that I don't like cardio or whatever. It's not the case. It's just that it doesn't fit my goals. Doesn't mean my clients do not have to be me. I want to be as big as humanly possible every day of my life. My clients don't have to be me. And so the goal is to kind of try to show them that, hey, the whole point of this is for you to find your fitness journey and for you to go to where you want to go in your life.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. And I'm super excited to try and do a meet at some point. I want to do that, powerlifting meet, and my kids are excited to see me. And I've gone to every single thing of theirs. Well, not everything, but I go to most of their things that I can. And they all said they're going to come and cheer me on. So, it's just a great way for us to be together and encourage one another. And I don't know, I've loved it. I've drank the Kool-Aid and I'm sold.
All I just heard right now was we need to do a summer meet.
Yes, summer will be good. I should be done with my school. I should be finished in May. So summer, I'll be doing my internship in the fall or in the spring. So we got to do a summer meet. Yes.
Yeah, we're going to be shopping for that as soon as they start dropping.
Yes.
And I know all the meet directors in the Midwest, so I'll find one somewhere.
All right. I feel like I need to go watch one. I need to find one I can go watch so I can at least kind of know what to do.
Some. That's no problem. Say less. I know.
Yeah, send me a list of some I should go watch.
All right. So that's going to be it for today's episode.
Okay.
And thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
You're looking forward to this. We're going to have fun.
Yeah, I totally am. I totally am looking forward to it.